It's Thursday, July 6th, 2017. I'm your host, Sarah Mantle. We have a great show in store for you today. First up, we'll chat with Town Manager Mark Ells. Then we'll check in with Town Councilor Will Crocker. And finally, we have part 2 of our TikTok with Larry Dapsis. He is an entomologist with Barnstable County. He has some tips for us on how to avoid tick-borne illnesses. All of that on this episode of Barnstable Today. But first, let's go ahead and get a look at today's top headlines. The town of Barnstable held a dedication for the new flagpole and flag at Dowses Beach in Osterville on Monday. The flagpole and installation were gifted by the Osterville Rotary Club, and the flag was flown over the United States Capitol in Washington, D.C. It was a very moving ceremony to see patrons on the beach and in the water stand at attention while Dowses Beach Supervisor Jennifer Haddock raised the flag. The Pledge of Allegiance was recited and the national anthem was sung by lifeguard Colleen Ellis. A year ago, July 1st, the Dowses Beach flagpole was struck by lightning and was declared a total loss. Rebecca Richardson from the Osterville Rotary Club worked with the club to find a replacement flagpole. Many thanks go out to the Osterville Rotary Club. A Marston's Mills resident joins the Airport Commission. Zachary Lisinski of Marston's Mills is the newest member. Lisinski will replace Commissioner Tim Luzetti, who stepped down June 30th, 2017. Lisinski is an airline pilot and certified flight instructor. Lisinski will serve a 3-year term on the Airport Commission through June 30th of 2020. The the planning department is working to update the town's open space and recreation plan. The plan is used to identify challenges, potential areas of growth, and priorities for open space. Once approved by the Massachusetts Division of Conservation Services, the town will be able to qualify for state grants related to land acquisition. Residents can be a part of the update process by taking a very quick survey. You can find that survey by visiting the Town of Barnstable's website and clicking through to the Planning and Development Department. Well, up next, we chat with Town Manager Mark Ells. So, Mark, a very busy 4th of July weekend. I noticed a huge increase in the traffic. I know we always see an increase in the summer, but it just felt like this weekend a lot of people took advantage of that long holiday weekend and made the trip, which is great for our economy.
Oh, it's wonderful. It's exactly what you hope for certainly our big weekends. And where we had a little bit of a gloomy prelude to it in the prior weeks, it was just like summer dropped on us. Yeah. And it was here, I know, speaking with Patty Machado over at Recreation and certainly the beaches, and all of our camps started on Monday. The camps for the kids started and a lot of our programs started. She just said, Mark, everything is full. I kept getting communications all through the weekend. So certainly when you're in the business we are, our next thought is always, okay, is everything running well? Is everything safe? And so far, so good. We keep our fingers crossed, but I've talked to fire and police and our various programs out there, and a couple of small incidents, but in general, everybody's okay out there. So that's always a relief when you hear that, when you have this many people doing as many activities as we have going on here in Barnstable.
Yeah, it's funny because as a resident, you make sure you add on that extra time with the extra traffic. But just seeing the traffic over the weekend, I was like, this has got to be a record-setting holiday weekend. I can't wait to talk to Wendy Northcross at the Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce to hear from local businesses, because it really does seem like it was a great weekend, and the weather couldn't have cooperated any better for us.
No, it couldn't have. It was beautiful, and the people that I had spoken with, business people and residents and visitors, all were very excited, upbeat, doing positive stuff, lots to do, able to access information to figure out what's going on. So it was it was a very positive, and I had been to several parades, and certainly down here on Main Street yesterday, and then fireworks last night, and couldn't have asked for a better night for the fireworks.
It is like a slice of apple pie, I think, heading out into Barnstable and celebrating the 4th of July with all of the different village parades. I actually made my way to the Centerville Parade. It's Americana at its finest. I mean, you have everybody dressed in red, white, and blue, families enjoying it, and it's tradition too, I think, for so many families. So glad that everything really went smoothly, and the beaches were packed, which is great for the town. And like you said, we're glad that everyone maintained safety.
Absolutely, and I can't say enough for the staff. I watch what they do very carefully, certainly, and right down to, in fact, I try to talk to people that are out there on the line, whether it's the guys that are collecting the trash at the beaches, or whether it's our gadies or our lifeguards, or people down in our marinas, whatever it is. I always try to talk to them and hear what they're seeing, and I always ask them what we can do to help them better. And so very positive, I would have to say, everywhere that I went, even when it was extremely busy in many cases, very welcoming of our, even in tough situations, welcoming, polite. I think they get the message that they can communicate with their supervisor, and their supervisor will step up and help when it gets difficult, which is really important, because sometimes, people that you're dealing with you don't always have the skill set, especially if you're somebody that doesn't do this all the time, or a very young person, to be able to, negotiate that. So everywhere I went, I just saw good things, and then I got positive feedback. So that's encouraging.
Yeah, and Patty Machado does a great job of making sure that all of those frontline staff people are well trained in how to handle situations. So glad to hear everything.
Our CSOs were out there on Main
community
Street,
service officers,
and our gateway greeters were down there at the park, and all good stuff, and all just representing us well. So I was very thankful for that. They did a great job.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us today, sort of looking over the holiday weekend. We really appreciate it, Mark, and look forward to chatting with you again next week.
Thanks for having me.
Our guest today, Town Manager Mark Ells. Recently, we sat down to talk with Town Councilor Will Crocker about his priorities on the council and whether or not he will run for a second term. So, Will, thank you so much for sitting down with us today. You are definitely busy between your role on Beacon Hill as well as your role here in Town Council. I want to talk to you a little bit about your work on the council. I know a big vote that's coming up before the council is a homeless, not helpless building that they're proposing in Hyannis. Talk to me a little bit about that vote that's coming up.
Well, I've spoken with a number of people, the Greater Hyannis Civic Association, and they're very concerned about that. They feel that there's an oversaturation of services, and in particular, homes which are being used as shelters and for people who are experiencing withdrawal or being treated for opiate addiction issues. And they're concerned that Hyannis is just the brunt and is the ground zero, so to speak, for all of those sort of things. And they're very concerned about it. They're fed up at this point, frankly. At least that's the read that I get from the people from the Greater Hyannis Civic Association. And they want to be heard about this. They want the town to be able to, say, you know what, enough is enough, and any further proliferation of these social service agencies or these homes, sober homes, or whatever you want to call them, be in other places, maybe in other villages in the town, or maybe in other towns. It's a situation where, transportation is not a problem. We have a transportation situation. We have bus routes that can get anybody from wherever they are, if maybe other parts of the town or in other towns, to be able to come to Hyannis for their services. But I think the people in Hyannis basically just had enough, and they are reaching out to try and get some sort of relief in this.
An interesting topic I think the Homeless Committee has been dealing with as well, and I think you've actually been tapped now to join the Homelessness Committee. Are you going to take that seat?
Yeah, I was asked by Jen Cullum, who is the town councilor who is in charge of that committee, to sit on the committee. I think for two reasons, probably as a town councilor and also as a state rep, to be able to stay in the loop in terms of what's going on with that committee and the deliberations that they're doing and the actions that they're taking. To be able to, as a good conduit, I need to know what's going on as far as the homeless situation is when we're talking about bills up on Beacon Hill that deal with the homeless.
Yeah, an interesting point you raised there, because it is a team effort. So having someone who is working on both levels of government there could definitely be a bonus for the Homelessness Committee. You know, speaking of that, Will, elections are coming up. Even-numbered precincts are going to run in November. Have you considered whether or not you're going to go ahead and run again for your town council seat?
Well, considering is a good word. I am considering it. I haven't decided yet whether or not I'm going to run for a second term. I love working on the Barnstable Town Council. It's been a great 4 years. I'm grateful that the president, Eric Steinhilber, has kind of given me a little bit of a break and taken me off one of the committees so that I can do the state rep job and also as a town council job. I enjoy representing Precinct 6, but I haven't at this point in time made up my mind on whether or not I'm going to do it.
Okay, well, we'll keep pressing you, and as soon as you have your decision, hopefully you'll come join us and let us know. I know town council is also working on some zoning issues. Where do you see that work heading in the next few months?
Well, we're just beginning that whole situation. It is part of when the town council met earlier this year to talk about our strategic plan for the next 2 years. One of the overreaching issues was zoning and looking at all the zoning ordinances to try and refresh them, try to take another look at them through newer sets of eyes, different people looking at it now, and try to see what we can do to make it a little more business friendly, and also keep in mind the housing situation there with things like accessory apartments or anything that we can do to be able to make housing. You call it what you want. You can call it workforce housing, you can call it affordable housing, but whatever it takes to be able to get people here to be able to afford to live here, I think is something that we need to look at. And if zoning is one of those ways that we can create an easier pathway, then we need to do that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us today. Very excited to chat with you again, and of course look forward to chatting with you again in the near future.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity.
My guest today, Town Councilor Will Crocker. Up next is part 2 of our TikTok with entomologist Larry Dapsis. What kinds of ticks are there in our area and that we need to worry about?
Sure, and that's a good point. We have now 3 species of ticks that are on our radar screen. So we have the deer tick. It's been around for a long, long time. We have dog ticks. Some people call it the wood tick. Pretty common. They can vector the pathogens that cause Rocky Mountain spotted fever and tularemia. But in Massachusetts, both of those diseases are quite rare. And now the newest player to the landscape arrived, to our knowledge, 3 years ago, the Lone Star tick. And this is a very, very different beast. So we found the first established population a few miles from here at Sandy Neck Beach Park in West Barnstable. And last fall, I found another established population in West Falmouth along the Shining Sea Bike Trail. So we think it was introduced by migratory birds, but when it's established, we actually suspect strongly now that our friends the wild turkeys are aiding in the spreading of those ticks around Cape Cod. So in fact, when they were first describing the Lone Star tick back in the 1800s, they almost named it the turkey tick because it has a real appetite for that.
And boy,
bird.
do we have a lot of wild turkeys around
here. We certainly do. We certainly do.
What about, we talked about prevention, so we talked about that permethrin. How do you pronounce that? Permethrin?
Permethrin.
Treatment. So what about essential oils? I know a lot of people want to go a natural way. They may be concerned about chemicals. Do essential oils work or natural remedies?
Let's hold that. You can buy pre-treated clothing because we parked that over here.
Yep.
So you can go to insectshield.com and the pre-treated clothing keeps its activity through 70 washings, basically the life of the garment. And the third way you can skin that cat is you can send your clothes to Insect Shield. They'll treat them, send them back to you with the 70 washings claim. Essential oils, the all-natural school of tick management. I try and talk a lot of people out of those products. There's a huge difference between the all-natural products and things like DEED or alternatives like picaridin and things like that. DEET and picaridin, oil of lemon eucalyptus, those are all EPA registered. If it says on the label, repels ticks and mosquitoes for 8 hours, there are data on file at EPA to support that claim. These all-natural products they're registration exempt, meaning they don't have to provide one shred of data to prove they work at all. And so I tell parents quite bluntly that if you're relying upon those products, it seems like it's the best of both worlds, you're dodging bullets. You're dodging bullets. The other thing in doing research on these all-natural ingredients, I found a number of them are known human allergens, and there are documented cases of those formulations interacting negatively with sunscreens. So I tell people to wave off because the stakes are so high with this.
Right, you really want to prevent that tick bite because, you know, as we know, it can really, even one tick bite can be, you know, can get you in trouble.
One bite can change your life.
Yeah.
That's our message.
Very, very true. So this is actually, Barnstable County has this outreach program. Are there many other outreach programs like this in the state or in the country?
There are some in other parts of the country, but in the state, Barnstable County is unique. We're the only ones that have an aggressive outreach program, which is unfortunate. And the interesting thing is that Harvard School of Medicine contacted me several months ago, and they were looking at data trends in the state for things like Lyme. And what they saw in the data was that 9 of the 10 counties in the state have incidence rate of Lyme that are doing this. They're all on the increase. Barnstable County is flat as this table. And so they were probing around wondering what's different here. Then they found out about what we're doing here on the Cape. We are holding our own.
And that's what's different, is that we have someone here like yourself that's spreading the message that you need to be vigilant, you need to check for ticks, you need to have those ticks tested, and you need to use a permethrin spray or treated clothing to prevent those tick bites.
Sure, and I'm one part of the whole outreach equation. The other side of this is our county nurse, Deidre Arvidsson, and she has a program where she goes into the schools to train kids on this whole matter. So it's kind of like tag team.
I saw a sign recently posted on the side of the road, spray your lawn, get rid of fleas and ticks. Is that an option? Is that something that we should consider, having our yards treated?
That's my 1-2 punch. Permethrin treated clothing and tick checks and perimeter yard sprays. I think the combination of those is a good thing to do. So there are services that you can contract with that will do the edges of your yard. You don't have to spray the lawn. Short grass, direct sunlight, low humidity, that's a hostile environment for deer ticks. But over at the edges where you get a transition into taller vegetation and leaf litter and shade, that's where you're going to find it. So I recommend people treating their yards late May, late June, and again in mid-October, or you can save yourself money, some money, and go to a garden center and get a hose end sprayer and just tell them you want something to treat the edge of your yard. They'll know exactly what you're talking about and set you up.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Before I let you go, you just had a documentary premiere at a Provincetown Film Festival.
Indeed.
This is very exciting. What was the documentary called?
Tick Days. And it was done by an independent filmmaker, Boston Picture Group, Marnie Crawford. And so she's been following me around for the past year and took about 40 hours of interviews and field work and crafted it into a 20-minute beautiful documentary. So P-Town was the first festival that we were shown at. We have another screening coming up at another festival in August, and we're not allowed to say where it is right now. And once that's done, Marnie wants to make this available for screenings at all the Cape Cod libraries. So we're going to get this out to the general public probably starting sometime this fall.
Great. Well, thank you for talking to us. We really appreciate it. Now we know how to protect ourselves from ticks.
So for Barnstable Today Nation, stay tick safe.
That's right. Well, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. Our guest today, entomologist Larry Dapsis. Well, artists looking for a retreat should look no further than Sandy Neck Beach. Here's some information for you on the house at the halfway point at Sandy Neck. Local artists have the chance to unplug and spend some time on Sandy Neck Beach. The town of Barnstable and the Cape Cod Art Association are offering day excursions to the house at the halfway point on Sandy Neck Beach. The house was donated to the town of Barnstable in the 70s for educational purposes.
Now we rehabbed the structure and now we're using it for nonprofit groups to come out here and use it as a base for either educational purposes. Certainly environmental education is a great use of it. And then these artist groups have been coming out for a number of years now. So it's sort of morphed into, I think it's always maintained the use requirement when it was initially given to the town. It's always had a really productive and constructive use. It's just sort of morphed into this new place, and it's beautiful. It's wonderful. People love it coming out here. I hear about it for years and years after they come out and enjoy this place.
I was just talking to someone earlier, and they were saying their photographs aren't even capturing what it is that we're looking at. The colors just are amazing to stand here. And I always find that when I paint on location, when I'm working on the painting, I'm trying to bring in what I'm actually feeling and seeing. So it's not necessarily to capture it as a photographic image, but to be able to, put a little bit of myself into it. And I think if you're standing in the location as opposed to looking at a photograph, you're just one step closer to it. It's just, it's a wonderful feeling.
You can learn more and download an application by visiting artsbarnstable.com or contacting Arts and Culture Coordinator Melissa Hirsch. Excursions are scheduled in May, September, and October of this year. Wow, Sandy Neck is so beautiful. I can't wait to head out there again. Now let's find out what's happening around town in today's community calendar with Megan Mamlock.
The Osterville Farmers Market is now open for the season. The popular farmers market is open every Friday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Osterville Historical Museum. Stop by and find something special. Out of a job and over the age of 50, you can join the 50-plus job seeker groups. The group Encore Career can help you with coaching and networking. It's completely free, and you get assistance. They meet every first and third Thursday of the month from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at the Barnstable Senior Center. Tales of Cape Cod 46th Annual Historical Program Series is hosting a lecture by author Mary Malloy on her new book, The Devil on the Deep Blue Sea, The Notorious Career of Captain Samuel Hill of Boston, on Monday, July 10th at 7 p.m. in the Old Colonial Courthouse in Barnstable Village.
Well, there are no board, committee, or commission meetings for the rest of the week. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to be back tomorrow with another great show for you. On tomorrow's show, we will meet the all-male a cappella group, Hyena Sound. We'll chat with Recreation Director Patty Machado and so much more. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Mannel.